as I stated earlier, by the two people. And, getting back to that word trust, those two current board members who appointed me were obviously elected by the voters. And that means that those voters put a certain amount of trust in them by electing them. And they obviously, through that process they used by interviewing 10 of us, selected me. Now it's my responsibility to maintain that trust that they got from the voters back to them. So I think a lot of the issues that we've dealt with, we have a really good team. We're three distinctively personalities. We have some agreements and disagreements, but I think one thing that all three of us bring to the table is that we are fiercely going to fight for the residents of Plain Township, regardless of what the issue is.
Okay. My perception when Louis Geovasis was a trustee, that he was kind of the trustee in charge. Do you think that's a fair look, or would you disagree with that?
I don't think I would disagree with that. I would think that was a pretty accurate observation. He was, as I think of this, I think he was like the senior trustee.
Right.
So I think that kind of comes along with the territory. And like I say, we're three distinctively different personalities. So, Trustee Alino is the type of person that his heart is as big as this room. All he wants to do is make sure that all our citizens and residents are taken care of. But he plays a little bit of a passive role in terms of being the one that's the spokesperson and that type of thing. Doesn't mean that he's not still as well informed or as aggressive, but he just takes a little bit more passive role.
Okay, another perception I had is that with my belief that Louis Geovasis was the trustee in charge, is that he and Leno operated as a tandem, and Haas sometimes was left out there on his own. What do you believe that I'm off base on that, or?
Well, I can speak. I can only speak in that particular case based on being a department head and being in the inside of it.
Right.
I didn't see that in terms of how I was treated and how those things that I brought forward. Now, there may have been some political issues that took place that may have been a little bit contentious. I never felt that it was a competition in terms of my ability to be a department head.
Okay. Well, going forwards, let's say you get retained as trustee. Do you see a different relationship among the trustees than existed when Geovasis was there?
I don't know if I would call it different. I think you're still going to see, if I get reelected, you're still going to see that.
Retained.
Yeah.
The reason I'm saying that is that maybe some of your opponents
you're
will want to
absolutely
take
correct.
exception
I
to
stand corrected on that. But I would see us functioning as a team. I think the general consensus of all three of us is that we may have some differences, but at the end of the day, we want to at least be able to make a decision and hearing each other out in those cases where we have done like an executive session, for example. Because, obviously there's a reason you have an executive session. And, whatever decisions come out of those are pretty much going to depict that there was a consensus or not a consensus.
Okay. Well, just going in, say you get retained, are there any issues out there that you know going in that there is some disagreement on?
I don't think right now. I think the pressing issues right now that we are being confronted with are dealing with our ability to cooperate with, be it Canton, be it North Canton, be it our interaction with any other agencies, because there's so many people that we would cooperate with. We would still like, based on the build out of the Hall of Fame Village, we would still like to enter into cooperative agreements of some type with the city of Canton. Because at the end of the day, we all want the same things. We all want to be able to provide our services. So, services are uppermost in all of what we do, because basically cities and townships are service providing entities. And we want to be able to have fire departments and law enforcement agencies and zoning and all those things that we're responsible for. So at the end of the day, we all want the same thing. We just have to take a look at creative and cooperative efforts that we can both get the same things that we want in a cooperative effort. So when you take a look at Hall of Fame Village, for example, there has been a footprint that has been developed by Hall of Fame Village. And we have basically said that we will allow the build out in that footprint. It only makes sense. That's the first cooperative thing that we said that we would do. And those annexations are type 2 annexations and bring along all those things that type 2 annexations do. But there's going to be other land outside of that footprint that's in Plain Township. And there's going to be other land that people are going to be looking for. And there might be build out or push out. So that the only people that are being affected by that push out and that build out are Plain Township residents. And some of those residents have been there a long time. So I would think that coming to a cooperative effort, realizing that those residents will maybe feel a little bit better if they at least know their voices were heard. But for us to be able to provide for our services, Canton wants to get some extra money from that, and we would like to have some extra money from that. And cooperation is the best way to do it.